the Lion of Judah. Hallelujah. 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 John was called out and said, behold, the Lion of Judah. And John's standing there with anticipation, waiting to see a fierce lion, waiting to see a lion come out that's able to conquer the world. And what came out was a slain lamb. A lamb with his throat cut. A lamb with blood running down his breast. And little did John understand that that is the source of power. When you become humble as a lamb, or when you become humble as a slain lamb, when you become a servant, one that is less significant than any other, that's when you become powerful. That's when you become powerful. When you become nothing, that's when God makes you something. Amen. When listen to me now. Hallelujah. When you become nothing, that's when God will make you everything. That's when God can lift you up and use you. Hallelujah. How great is our God? I say, how great is your God? That's a question I'm asking you this morning. How great is your God? Is your God great enough to see you through your troubles? Yes. Is your God great enough to see you through your pain? Yes, he is. Amen. Yes, he is. Amen. I've been in pain for 3 weeks. Before that, I was in pain with my chest where my ribs were broke. And the last 3 weeks, over 3 weeks, I've been in pain with my leg. I'll wake up in the morning in such severe pain I can't hardly get up. But you know what? God is still on the throne, and God is still on the throne. Hallelujah. And I still can walk. Come on. By the grace of God. Amen. Amen. How great is your God? Amen. How great is your God? Is he great when you're trying to breathe? Ladies, is he good? The Bible says everything that has breath, praise ye the Lord. Amen. Everything that has breath, if you're still breathing, then breathe. And praise him while you're breathing.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Praise him while you're breathing.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Just think of the great kingdom that one day, the great kingdom that awaits us, that one day we'll walk through.
A new battle.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Abby's brother passed away a few weeks ago. And though he struggled for many years with drug addiction, he gave his life to Jesus. How many of you know God's so good? So good. Amen. He's such a merciful God, such a loving God. Amen.
Amen.
Sometimes we say, what can I give you, Lord? I have nothing. I've wasted my life. I've abused my body. There's nothing I have left to give you. But if you have a heart, the only thing he wants from you is your heart. Amen. Just give him your heart. But I shared on Facebook with Abby and then with her sisters that immediately as he stepped out of this body into a new body. First of all, his legs was amputated. So I emphasize that he's now walking.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
He's greeted by his mom and his dad and his two sisters that's gone on before. And as they begin to give him the grand tour, how many of you want to take the grand tour? Yes. Amen. You know, many years ago, some of you Southern folk might be reminded of this. George Jones had a song out called The Grand Tour. And it was kind of a sad song. He's talking about how his beautiful home is empty now since his wife left him. But that tour can't compare to the tour that one day we'll take.
Right.
I said, as they took him around from mansion to mansion, he no doubt met some saints, might have met Moses. I heard someone that said they had a vision or they went to heaven and they met Moses and they said, Moses, how long have you been here? He said, I don't know, a few days. Because there's no time in heaven.
Amen.
Amen. But they took him around and gave him a tour. And while it seemed like Jesus is everywhere, he finally met Jesus face to face. And all this time, as he's walking around looking at the splendors of heaven, he is reminded that he has an appointment at the throne room. And led on into the throne room where the Father finally sees him. I can imagine the Father reaching down, Jenny, and picking him up, holding him into his arms, and just rocking him and saying, DL, I've been waiting on you. You know, see, I say this about DL, but this is the trip that awaits us all.
Amen.
You know, my good friend, my brother, my wife's cousin, just passed away this past week. Carlos. Carlos died. For most of you, some of you know Carlos, and you know what a heart of gold he had. But unfortunately, Carlos was struggling with addiction. And Carlos died of an overdose this past week. And I got to talk to Ron Miller yesterday, and he said, Ricky, those that know Ricky Rivera, Ricky said he came down that morning, that night, and he says, Carlos, come upstairs and sleep in the bedroom. And he said, no, brother, I'm going to stay here. He said, I'm going to sleep on the floor. He said, because I got to pray. He said, I got to ask God to help me get over this. I got to preach. I can't be living this life anymore. And you know, it's so disturbed because, you know, we never know the condition of a man's soul. But we do know the mercy of God.
Amen.
And I was so relieved when I heard that the night before, moments before he died, he said he was praying and calling out to God because he needed to stop living that lifestyle. God's merciful. God is so merciful. You know, we look at people and we think because they lived a certain lifestyle that they're lost. But God is so, and I'm not saying we know we have to be holy, we have to be washed by the blood of the Lamb, we have to be born again to get to heaven. So I'm not making light of that. But I also know that if you cry out to God, no matter what condition you're in, if you cry out to Him, He's ready to answer. Let me tell you a story about a young man. A young man who was a drug dealer. A young man that was heavily on drugs, was sleeping around with everything that he could get his hands on. Just living a life of wickedness and ungodliness. And one night he found out that his suppliers put a hit on him, was going to kill him. And walking around the Coliseum, after attending Van Halen's Running with the Devil, who just put out Running with the Devil, and Black Sabbath, who was a very demonic rock and roll band. Walking around the Coliseum, he began to cry out to God. And he said, God, I don't want to go to hell. I want to go to heaven. Please, I'm sorry for everything I've ever done. He didn't know how to pray. But he knew how to say, God, I'm sorry for everything I've ever done. And God delivered this young man, and while he was in the house with two hitmen, God allowed him to leave. They thought that there was witnesses that knew he was there, so they let him go. Still with the plan to kill him in the future, but nevertheless they let him go. And I've said many times, Sister Bibi, if that young man would have died that night, he would have went to heaven because he repented of his sins, but nobody would have known. His poor mother would have mourned the rest of her life, thinking that her son was in hell. But he would have been in heaven because he repented. That young man was me.